Most shooters look at a 40-year-old air rifle and see outdated steel, scratched wood, and yesterday's technology. That is a mistake. Some of these machines were built with steel piston rings, hand-fitted triggers, fixed match barrels, and compression systems designed to survive decades of hard use. No batteries, no carbon fiber bottle, no digital regulator waiting to fail. Just steel, wood, pressure, and mechanical precision. One rifle on this list can still stack pellets through the same hole after sitting untouched for 30 years. Another hits with enough spring-powered authority to embarrass newer hunting rigs. And the #1 spot, it did not just survive airgun history, it helped define it. Rank 5 goes to the Diana Model 34, also known in the United States as the RWS-34. This is the working man's classic. It does not have the massive weight of the Weihrauch HW80, and it does not use the sliding recoil system found on the Feinwerkbau 300S. What it gives you instead is balance, useful power, manageable weight, and a design that has been proving itself since 1984. In .22 caliber form, the research data places it around 750 feet per second. In .177, standard lead pellets can run around 850 feet per second. That puts it right in the sweet spot for backyard pest control and medium-range target work. The MkIII is the brake barrel locking system. A spring-loaded steel ball-bearing detent snaps the barrel shut and keeps the breech aligned, shot after shot. Behind that simple lockup is a cold hammer-forged barrel built for long service life. Later versions add the all-metal T06 trigger, a fully adjustable two-stage unit with a crisp, predictable break. The trigger snaps like a thin glass rod, while the firing cycle answers with a hard spring-powered crack and a firm two-direction shove. Here is the deal. The Diana 34 has a real annoyance. Its recoil has a reputation for loosening stock screws and scope mounts. Keep shooting it with loose hardware, and the wood can crack around the front mounting points. Barrel droop is another common concern, meaning the barrel may sit at a slight downward angle compared with the compression tube. That can force you into a droop compensating scope mount, just to get a clean optical zero. Street price on a used example usually lands between $150 and $250. Versions with the T06 trigger or upgraded walnut furniture can climb closer to $300. That makes it one of the easiest classics to buy without draining your wallet. The Diana earns rank 5 because it is simple, common, accurate, and brutally dependable, but do not confuse dependable with unbeatable. The rifle waiting at #1 brings heavier construction, deeper tuning potential, and the kind of legacy that changed what American shooters expected from a spring-powered air rifle. Rank 4 belongs to the Sheridan Blue Streak Model C. This is not another European Springer dressed in polished steel. It is a hard-use American multi-pump pneumatic introduced in 1949, built to close the gap between lightweight BB guns and .22 rimfire rifles. Sheridan chose .20 caliber because it offered a middle ground between the flatter trajectory of .177 and the heavier impact of .22. With a 14.3 grain pellet, the research data places it near 700 feet per second at maximum power. The MkIII starts with the pump system. Instead of relying on a spring piston, the shooter compresses air manually before every shot. 3 pumps can handle low-powered indoor target work, while as many as 8 pumps raise the output for small game hunting around 30 yards. Inside, the dump valve releases the full charge of compressed air when the trigger breaks. That complete release helps produce repeatable velocity without leaving part of the air charge trapped behind for the next shot. Its construction is where the blue streak earns legendary status. The barrel and pump tube are made from a durable bronze alloy and soldered together along their full length. This creates a rigid, almost one-piece front assembly that resists rust and handles years of repeated pumping stress. The trigger breaks with a firm mechanical snap. When it fires, you do not get the violent forward slam of a magnum springer. You hear a sharp, pneumatic pop, followed by the clean clack of the action, doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now for the deal breaker. 8 pumps for every full power shot gets old fast. Follow-up shots are slow, and a long plinking session turns into an upper body workout. The adjustable power is useful, but the effort required to reach maximum output is the price you pay for that independence. There is also one serious inspection point on used rifles. If a previous owner grabbed the barrel while pumping, or over-tightened a wedge-style scope mount, the solder joint between the barrel and pump tube may begin to separate. Repairing that damage requires specialist work. Used rocker safety versions generally set you back between $150 and $250. Early hold-down models, especially clean examples with original accessories or Williams peep sights, can climb from $350 to more than $500. Look, this rifle does not need a tank, compressor, battery, or charging station. As long as your arms work, it keeps shooting. Sound off below if you grew up with a Sheridan, Benjamin, or another old-school multi-pump. The younger shooters need to hear how much work these rifles actually survived. Rank 3 goes to the Air Arms TX200. Now we step into the serious precision tier. Introduced in 1990, this British underlever was built to dominate field target shooting, where tiny steel target zones had to be hit at unknown distances reaching 50 yards. Unlike a brake barrel, the barrel on the TX200 never pivots during cocking. It stays fixed in perfect alignment with the scope, while a separate lever beneath the barrel handles the work. The mechanic's insight is the sliding compression tube. When you pull the underlever, the compression tube moves rearward and exposes the breech so a pellet can be loaded directly into the fixed barrel. That layout removes hinge wear and reduces the chance of barrel droop, changing the relationship between the bore and the optic. Inside the action, the piston and compression tube ride on synthetic Delrin bearings. Those bearings stop steel parts from dragging directly against the receiver wall, reducing friction and smoothing the firing cycle. Air Arms essentially delivered a rifle that already felt professionally tuned before the owner ever opened the action. The safe lock system adds another layer of engineering. Physical locking notches prevent the compression tube from slamming forward while your fingers are inside the loading port. The shooter must deliberately release the mechanism with a button on the side before the action can close. Its Lothar Walther match barrel helps explain the accuracy reputation. In 177, the research data places velocity around 930 feet per second. In 22, it runs near 755 feet per second. The trigger breaks like a thin sheet of ice, giving way under one clean step. Then the rifle answers with a tight mechanical thump, not the loose metallic twang you expect from an ordinary factory springer. Here is the deal breaker. This level of refinement is not cheap. A used TX200 usually sets you back between $700 and $1,000, depending on the stock, condition, and included scope. Even second-hand examples hold their value aggressively, so bargain hunters rarely find one priced like a basic utility springer. The underlever latch and safe lock also need inspection. The latch should hold firmly beneath the muzzle, and the safety system should click positively throughout the cocking stroke. The TX200 takes rank 3 because it combines fixed barrel alignment, synthetic bearing support, and factory-level tuning in one polished package. But the next rifle goes in a completely different direction. It was built to erase recoil from a spring-powered match gun almost entirely. Rank 2 belongs to the Feinwerkbau 300S. Entering the elite tier, this is not a hunting magnum trying to overpower the target. It is a 10-meter precision machine designed to remove nearly every disturbance between the shooter and the pellet. During the 1970s and 1980s, the 300S dominated international and Olympic-style target competition. Decades later, clean examples are still capable of stacking pellets into the same hole. The mechanic's insight is the patented recoilless sledge system. On a normal spring piston rifle, the spring pushes rearward when released, and then the piston slams forward at the end of the compression stroke. Those opposite forces can disturb the rifle before the pellet leaves the barrel. Feinwerkbau separated the barreled action from the stock. When the rifle fires, the entire action slides rearward about 1/4 of an inch along internal rails. That movement counteracts the forward piston impulse, so the shooter feels almost none of the harsh two-direction recoil associated with an ordinary springer. Under the surface, another mechanical choice explains its incredible lifespan. Instead of depending entirely on a synthetic piston seal, the 300S uses a steel piston ring working against a carefully finished steel compression cylinder. When properly lubricated, that metal ring glides along the cylinder with extremely little wear. That is why rifles left untouched for 30 years can sometimes return to the range and immediately deliver match-level accuracy. The trigger is another miniature mechanical masterpiece. The first stage travel, second stage release, trigger shoe position, and trigger shoe angle can all be adjusted. The brake feels like a magnetic latch, suddenly letting go, light, clean, and perfectly predictable. Pull the side lever back, and the anti-bear trap system answers with a series of distinct clicks. When the shot releases, the report is restrained. You hear a short mechanical pulse, and the quiet movement of the action sliding inside the stock. Now for the deal breaker. The steel piston ring may survive for generations, but the softer internal parts do not. The polyurethane piston buffer and breech seal can eventually break down into brittle, greenish residue. A newly purchased classic may look excellent on the outside while those internal parts are already falling apart. Replacement kits are available for under $40, but the rifle should still be inspected and serviced before serious use. A weak cocking stroke can also indicate that one or both main springs have broken. A worn club rifle generally sets you back between $400 and $500. Excellent original examples with the factory diopter sights and walnut stock can climb from $800 to more than $1,150. The Feinwerkbau takes rank 2 because it turns a violent spring piston cycle into a calm, almost motionless shooting experience. But the crown still belongs to a rifle built for a completely different mission. Heavier power, deeper tuning potential, and the strength to endure tens of thousands of hard firing cycles. Rank 1 belongs to the Weihrauch HW80 and its American market counterpart, the Beeman R1. This is the rifle that changed what American shooters expected from a spring-powered airgun. Before its arrival, many beautifully made European springers were limited by lower domestic power standards. Robert Beeman wanted something different, a true magnum rifle capable of serious pest control and small game hunting. Instead of relying only on trial and error, engineer E.H. Epperson used computer simulations to calculate the relationship between swept compression volume, mainspring dimensions, piston weight, and transfer port design. That work produced the mechanical foundation shared by the HW80 and the Beeman R1. The mechanic's insight starts with the massive 30mm compression tube. A larger swept volume allows the piston to compress more air during every firing cycle. Paired with the heavy mainspring, correctly sized transfer port, and synthetic parachute-style piston seal, The system converts that compressed air into the heavy output expected from a Magnum Springer. In .22 caliber form, the research data places its potential around 18 to 20 foot-pounds. That power comes with weight. Bare rifle mass runs around 8.5 to 9 pounds. Instead of being dead weight, that steel helps absorb the violent two-direction recoil created when the spring releases and the piston reaches the end of the compression stroke. The rifle still demands a proper artillery hold, but its mass makes the shot cycle easier to control than you would expect from a Springer with this much authority. At the breech, a heavy spring-loaded wedge detent locks the barrel firmly into position. That system replaced the slower manual barrel lock found on the earlier HW35 and was designed to maintain a tight air seal through tens of thousands of firing cycles. Then there is the Rekord trigger. This adjustable two-stage mechanism has been respected since 1955. The first stage takes up smoothly, and the second stage breaks like a steel latch releasing under steady pressure. Crisp, predictable, and free from the vague movement found in cheaper hunting rifles. The shot itself is not subtle. You feel the spring unload, the piston drive forward, and the rifle answer with a deep mechanical thump. Proper tuning with custom spring guides, Moly lubricant, and a quality spring kit can remove the loose metallic twang and turn that violent cycle into a smoother, controlled pulse. This is where the HW80 separates itself from the rest of the list. The Feinwerkbau 300S is calmer and more refined at 10 meters, but it was designed around match accuracy rather than magnum hunting output. The Airarms TX200 delivers a smoother factory firing cycle and fixed barrel precision, but used examples commonly cost far more and offer a more complex under-lever loading system. Even the Diana 34, one of the best value working Springers ever made, cannot match the HW80's thick-walled construction, oversized power plant, and deep tuning potential. The HW80 takes the throne because it combines power, durability, serviceability, and historical importance without depending on electronics, external air tanks, or delicate modern systems. A used working example generally sets you back between $400 and $500. Early Santa Rosa Beeman R1 rifles in original condition, especially examples with period-correct optics and high-grade walnut stocks, can reach $800 to more than $1,000. Inspect the breech jaws for galling, check the stock around the front mounting screws for cracks, and make sure the Rekord trigger still has a safe, distinct second stage. Get those details right, and you are not just buying an old air rifle. You are buying the Magnum Springer that helped define the category. These 5 rifles prove that classic airguns are not obsolete. They are mechanical benchmarks. The Diana Model 34 delivers dependable performance without demanding collector-level money. The Sheridan Blue Streak gives you complete independence from tanks, compressors, and charging equipment. The Airarms TX200 turns a spring-powered action into a polished precision instrument. Then you have the Feinwerkbau 300S, a target rifle so mechanically advanced that it can make a violent spring cycle feel almost motionless. But the Weihrauch HW80 and Beeman R1 take the crown because they bring everything together. Heavy-duty power, thick steel construction, a proven Rekord trigger, straightforward servicing, massive tuning potential, and a design born from engineering calculations rather than marketing guesses. Here is the real lesson. Do not judge an old air rifle by worn bluing, scratched wood, or a dated silhouette. Some of these guns were built during an era when manufacturers expected a machine to be repaired, tuned, and handed to the next generation. That kind of durability is getting harder to find. Before buying any classic, inspect the seals, stock screws, barrel lockup, trigger function, and internal service history. Original sights, premium wood, and documented professional tuning can also change the value dramatically. Now sound off below. Which one would you trust for another 30 years? The refined Feinwerkbau, the American Sheridan, the polished TX200, the practical Diana, or the Magnum HW80? And if your favorite classic did not make the list, name it and explain why it belongs here. Keep your pellets dry and your aim true.